Good afternoon. Hopefully you are going to be able to see this video. Let me just share it over on Facebook. And we will see if you are able to come and join me live. Let me just... Yeah, hopefully you'll be able to come and join me over here on YouTube, and I will make sure that there is definitely a copy of the video on there for you as the afternoon goes on. I will click over onto here, and hopefully I might be able to see if there's any chats or anything. We shall see. So hopefully you are able to join me here on YouTube and come and see my project that I am making this afternoon. The first ever Creativity Abound stamp camp we did, I had a huge technical difficulty in that my phone stand snapped and I had to get my husband in. I don't know if any of you were here for that one. I had to get my husband in to come and hold the phone for me. He had to be my human phone stand for my first ever Creativity Abound video. This one is going to be my last with as a stamp camp, last stamp camp project. So it only seems right that there should be a major hiccup with that one as well. Let me leave that. Okay. So let us, without any further ado, it's 12 o'clock now. It is lunchtime. I'm getting hungry apart from anything else. So not just hungry, we're going to be hangry. So let's get on with our project and cheer ourselves up a bit. So let us come on down to my downward facing camera. You don't need to see my scribbles. What you want to see is the project that we're making. So let's just slip all of it out of there. I was all prepared, ready to go, but just technology doesn't want to play with us today. So this is the little card that I created over on for your tutorial bundle. So this little card with this fold back front, cute little ladybird. I love this little ladybird on the front here, and a hello friend inside. So hopefully you have all found that and will be able to successfully create some of those. I have seen at least one that's been successfully created now, so that is all good. But for this one today, we're going to be making a bit of a fancy fold, and because of its shape, because of the way it sits, obviously as soon as I stand it up on the desk, you're not going to be able to see it quite so well, but because of the way that it sits and stands on your mantelpiece, on your table, it is called a chair step fold card. Now you can make these so that the center panel is taller. I decided not to, because by making it this size, it will fit into a standard size envelope, and I have jiggled hopefully both measurements, both the metric and the inches, so that they will fit into your standard size envelopes. And as you can see, I've got a nice cute caterpillar on the front there. So I'm going to show you how I created this card. Now with this particular card, I used a Blackberry Bliss background and my mats are in Old Olive, but I had a nice Old Olive caterpillar. For this one, we've got a nice Blackberry Bliss caterpillar. So I thought I would swap round and I would use a Old Olive card base and I would do Blackberry Bliss mats. So let us, without any further ado, get our trimmer. I'm all discombobulated now. I love that word. I'm all discombobulated. What are we doing? Right, okay, let's get our measurements. I have, hopefully you'll be able to find both the metric and the imperial measurements up on the top of this video. And we are going to take our piece of old olive card and we are going to cut it so that it is 14.9 centimetres wide, or that would be 5.5 inches. So it's as wide as normally cards are long. And I'm going to cut this, so open up my arm, I'm going to cut it so it's 27.5 centimetres long. If you're using metric measurements, that will be 11 inches long. And then I'm going to score it, and I'm going to score it. I'm going to go this way first, across this way, because you've got more of your card resting up against you, butting up against the top of your trimmer. It just keeps it straighter and less chance of you wobbling and getting a wonky line. So I'm going to score that at 2.5. That will be 1 inches if you're using inches. I'm then going to score it at 7.5. That will be 3 inches. 12.5, which will be 5 inches, and 17.5, which will be 7 inches. So those are my score lines coming this way. So 2.5, 5, no, 2.5, 7.5, 12.5, 17.5 coming up here. Now we're going to need to put in some cut lines. So I'm going to swing it round, and where we are concentrating, if I just give these a slight fold, hopefully you'll then be able to see those fold lines a little better. And we are going to be doing some cutting, and we're going to be concentrating on this panel just here, which is between the 7.5 and the 12.5 centimetre lines, or the 3 and the 5 inches. So this is the panel we are concentrating on at the moment. Not those two, not these two. This one just here. So between the 7.5 and the 12.5. And I'm going to rest this so that my edge of my cardstock is on the 2.5 centimetre or 1 inch mark on this right hand side of my trimmer. And I'm going to take my cutting blade and rest it so it is in line with this score line, this 7.5 or 3 inch score line just here. And I'm going to cut between that score line and the 12.5 centimetre or 5 inch score line. So just on this panel, I'm going to cut between those two lines, 2.5 centimetres in or 1 inch in. I'm now going to twizzle it round, and I want to cut between the same two score lines. But remember that now they're down at the bottom here. So between this score line and this score line, again between that 7.5 and 12.5 centimetre or 3 or 5 inch line. So I've got two score lines in, two cut lines in there now. Now along this, excellent, I'm going to follow this along this 3 inch or this 7.5 centimetre score line. I'm now going to cut between that cut line and the cut line. So where these two cut lines meet that score line, I'm going to swing it round and cut from there to there. And that will give us a flap just like this. So we've got this panel, a flap in that panel, this panel, and this top panel. So that is all the scoring and cutting we need to do for our card base. Now we just need to do some folding and burnishing. So this first score line just here, oh, why have I stopped? It's still showing as being live here. It's still showing as being live, so I'm going to carry on. I'll carry on, and if I have to completely redo the video afterwards, I will, but it's still showing as being live. So I will carry on. So we have our flap just here now, cut in our front of our cardstock. So what we want to do is this first score line here, we want to fold and burnish it as a valley fold. And this second score line, we want to fold and burnish as a mountain fold. Now this one just here, we want to leave this panel altogether, but these two side pieces, we're going to fold and burnish those as valley. So we've got valley, mountain, valley, and then this final score line, we're going to fold and burnish as a mountain fold. So there we have our basic card base. So valley fold, mountain fold, valley fold, mountain fold. You've got this funny looking thing just here that when you stand it will stand like this on the mantelpiece, on the shelf, wherever. But then it's just a question of decorating it. One thing we will also do is we'll also put a little piece in here to stop this splaying open, just to hold that piece shut and hold it firm, so that once we've got the decorations on it, it won't collops onto your desk. Right, I have gone ahead and cut out pieces of DSP and Mats and such like. You have all the measurements in the description. So let's start off with this first little strip. We're going to add to this coordinating strip of Blackberry Bliss. So I think if I remember right, it is 14.4 by 2 centimeters, and the paper is 13.9 by 1.5, and we need that to sit on this front piece just here. You are not quite sitting where I want you to. Like that. And then our next piece, we've got a piece of DSP, and I've used this beautiful paper with the blackberries and the strawberries on and the bees. Do love that. This one again is 14.4 by 4.5, and the paper is 13.9 by 4 in Imperial. This one here is 5 3/4 by 3/4, and the paper is 5 1/2 by 1/2 inch. This is 5 3/4 by 1 3/4, and 5 1/2 by 1 1/2 inches. So your card will be slightly shorter this way if you're using the inches, but I did do it deliberately so that it would fit in a standard envelope. You can, of course, go bigger and fit it into a 6 by 6 envelope or whatever. You now need 4 little pieces, and each of those measure, for the card, it measures 4 1/2 by 2 centimeters, or 1 3/4 by 3/4 of an inch, and then the paper is 1 1/2 by 4, or 1 1/2 inches, 1 1/2 centimeters by 4 inches, or 1 1/2 inches by 1/2 an inch. So these little bits are going to form our sort of arms of our chair. Stick all these pieces together. I am not seeing any comments. I don't even know at this stage whether I'm live. But rest assured, at some point, you will get to see this card being made. Right, I'm now going to, these little pieces, we're going to put on here. When you're cutting your paper, you want to make sure, if it's directional paper, that these little pieces are going in the right direction. This paper is fairly forgiving in that department. These are our edge pieces. We're going to decorate this centerpiece. Now for this, for the metric version, it will be a square, so it will be 9 1/2 centimeters square, the card. But for the imperial version, because it's slightly narrower, this is actually going to be 3 3/4 by 3 1/4 for this center panel. As I say, you could have made this, we could have made this panel so it sort of popped up over the top, almost like an easel card sort of idea. But by doing that, we would definitely have needed to have a bigger envelope. So that is why I kept it to this little square. Now, this is the same paper. It's still the paper with the strawberries and blackberries on, but I'm just using the other side for this particular mat, which is 9.9 centimeters. It's 9 centimeters by 9 centimeters, as I say, but the imperial mat will be slightly smaller, so that will be 3 1/2 by 3. So there is our little panel in there. I've now got a square piece of card, which we are going to wiggle to make a diamond piece of card. It's actually 6 1/2 by 6 1/2 centimeters, and it's 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 inches, because it again needs to be just slightly smaller in order to fit in there. Now, the one thing I haven't done is I haven't put my pieces of basic white, which was very silly. So I'm going to need one that is 6 by 6 centimeters. So let me cut myself a piece of 6 by 6 basic white. While I'm at it, I am also going to need a piece that is 13.9 by 9. So let me cut that at the same time. Right, now this is our piece for the front, which, as I say, we're going to want to go that way. And I'm going to take some old olive ink and a blending brush. I'm going to blending brush off a little bit. I'm going to pick up some of my old olive ink. I'm just going to move that a little bit so I'm working on my glass mat, because I do like to work on my glass mat when I'm using my blending brushes, just because I can pick up that excess ink that I've tapped off and still use it, whereas on paper it will just soak into the paper. I'm just going to use my blending brush just to add some old olive shading to the centre of that piece. And I'm also going to grab my stamp set, and I'm going to take some of these dotty lines. So you've got like this stamp that's got these 2 sets of dotty lines on it. I'm going to ink those up, and I'm going to have 1 set of dotty lines on this side and 1 set of dotty lines on this side. And onto that, I have gone ahead and fussy cut this little toadstool with the sort of log, the stump of the tree next to it. Words. Does anybody else have problems with words where they just disappear out of your head? So, remembering that we're going to have this in a diamond orientation, I'm going to pop our toadstool on there. And as I say, this time I've got a little purple caterpillar. I'm going to sit on the top here, and I am going to pop him up with some dimensionals. So this leaf is going to overlap the edge a little bit, so I want to leave this side of the leaf without dimensionals, just because if you're wondering where I got my big sheet of dimensionals from, it was out of a kit and I'm using them up. So they are still very much Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, as you can tell by the shape. I'm just using up some that were left over from a kit. So let's add a little caterpillar to there. I'm going to stick this onto my piece of Blackberry Bliss. And then I'm going to take some more of those dimensionals. I'm going to pop him up let's have one in the middle for good measure. Pop him up. Just there, like that. Very cute. And then we're going to stick with Hello Friend as a sentiment. I will stamp that in Blackberry Bliss. Oh, that's fine. Oddment of basic whites. I have many little oddments of basic white. I'll bring this back down a second so that I don't pick up that green ink. Let's ink this up with some Blackberry Bliss. Blackberry Bliss is such a beautiful colour. It does tend to find its way everywhere onto your fingers and hands. You only seem to have to look at the ink pad and you're covered. So I'm going to cut these out into individual words. Round we come. Obviously, you could add more bugs to this. You could give this little friend a friend. You could add more mushrooms and toadstools. Hello, I'm just going to snip around. So the hello bit, I shall add some glue and stick at the top there. To tuck him down behind that little toadstool a bit. So there's our hello, little friend. I'm going to put a bit of the multi-purpose adhesive across the centre and add him over the top of the caterpillar and the toadstool. In fact, I think it's going to get a little edge piece and add a dimensional this side because our caterpillar is popped up that side, so we need to pop up our friend on that side. I'm going to take some of the gorgeous ladybug embellishments and we will take a little ladybird. Obviously they're ladybirds for us. I'm going to add him to the toadstool, and then I'm going to take a couple of these little sort of raindrop effects to add to our leaf. Very cute. A little bit of the ribbon. This is lovely, this Rick Rack ribbon. And we will just attach this to the back of our card with some tape. You could neaten that up by putting another panel across the back there if you want to, if you don't want that to be seen. That up a little bit, then I'm going to take another little piece of ribbon. Let's chop ourselves a bit off, tuck it underneath there, and tie a knot. Just tidy up the end of that ribbon a bit. Right, this is our basic little card. Now, as I said, the only thing is that they can sometimes strap on the box of scrap white bits. Let's move that out of the way. It was a bit of a, oh, what am I sitting on moment? Okay, so what you can do to prevent this back piece from sliding, is you can create yourself just a little bit of strap like this. So all this is a piece of card. This one is 5 centimeters by 2.5 or 1 inch by 2 inches. I've folded it in half, and then I've folded each half back on itself. Now you don't need necessarily to worry about scoring it. It's not going to be seen. It's just a little piece that you're going to tuck in the back. So just literally fold it in half, burnish it with your bone folder, and then fold each piece back on itself to make like an M shape or a little bird with wings. And then we're just going to add a piece of a bit of adhesive to both sides. So both of the outer wings of our little bird, or the outer M sections. Oh, let's find the right card. I've done it in Blackberry Bliss. I should have done it in Old Olive, really, but it doesn't really matter. As I say, it won't be seen. As you can see on this one, I don't know whether you can see it just popping in there like that. So we're just going to want it to sit in the back here. So let's pop one side down. And then we'll bring this piece on top. That good press down. And you'll be able to see that. So it'd be better to make it in Old Olive or whatever colour your card base is. And that will just stop that from opening all the way out. Just give it a little bit of, help it to maintain its structure. So that's your basic card front. The only other thing we need to do is to do something on the back. And look, I've rested that up against a dirty stamp by the look of it. So what I did stamped on this one is I stamped the Love You Lots and the flower, just added a bit of colour and some of these dashes. We could do likewise. Let's get our Old Olive ink powder out. And we'll do some dashes on either side. And then let's take this lovely droopy, sort of almost snowdrop-like, which is quite appropriate because the snowdrops are out in full force. Here in the UK. I'll add the Love You Lots in Blackberry Bliss just to keep that colour coming through to the back as well. And then I'm just going to take Petal Pink blend and just add a little bit of colour to those flowers. Then we'll add this whole panel to the back of our card, and that will give you somewhere to write your sentiment. Oh, look at that. Blackberry. What did I say about blackberry ink earlier? It gets everywhere. I will disguise that in some way at some point. Let's just try not to get any more blackberry bliss ink anywhere, everywhere. It's dangerous. It should come with a health warning, but it is a beautiful colour. So there's our little we've made it to the end, hopefully. There's our little chair step fold card. So this one with the Blackberry Bliss card base and old olive mats and our old olive caterpillar, and then this one with the old olive base, the Blackberry Bliss mats and the Blackberry Bliss caterpillar. So two very similar cards, just slightly different colourways. So I hope you have enjoyed that project, if and as you have managed to see it, and that you are enjoying your stamp camp enormously with this gorgeous, gorgeous suite. It's just so cute. And on that, I will bow out for now. See you in a little while for the crafternoon tea. So enjoy. I'm going to go and have some lunch, I think. See you again soon.